Thank you, Valerie, for introducing me, and I'm very pleased to be here presenting you this new idea. And as I said, as you told us, this is a continuation from an older project using SignWriting. So could you please start the presentation on the screen? It is here? Okay. So this work was developed together with my colleague Milton Shintaku and also Sandra Patrícia and Messias Ramos from the University of Brasileiro. They work with sign language, and Milton works with me on software. So next slide, please. As a background work, as mentioned before, we developed a model that was aimed to support the development of artifacts for accessibility of deaf people to audiovisual contents. And in this model, we mapped many processes and artifacts that could enable accessibility of people to audiovisual contents. In the next slide, we can see a brief sort of diagram that describes the different processes and artifacts that can allow accessibility of audiovisual content in sign language for the deaf people. So in this model, when researching the literature, we found SignWriting. It was my first contact with this kind of this way to write down signs, and it was sounded very interesting and very useful in the case of subtitling audiovisual content. So next slide, please. This model gave origin to this software, and this software allowed subtitling using SignWriting. So we can see in this slide, this is the software interface, where we do have many timelines, and in each timeline we can insert SignWriting, other images, or written language, oral language subtitles, and so on. As a result, we have developed the model where we can see in the next slide a TV program where we can see on the right side there are the SignWriting subtitles. If you click on the link under the image, we will be led to the video showing the signs being streamed online. So, but it's not necessary now to see. Just for later, if you are curious about this work, you can visit the link and see it on action. So this was the background work that allowed, that guided me to use SignWriting. It seemed to me very interesting because we have many advantages over traditional video. So among other appliances of SignWriting, we found Adam Frost's blog. On the next slide, it is presented there. So could you please, next slide? Here it is. So we can see SignWriting being applied online. So we can use this as a big example of applying SignWriting. So it's feasible to write signs online instead of using video. So this is of great importance, I believe, for deaf culture to be expressed. We can register deaf language, sign language on an online environment. So also next slide, please. We also have another initiative that is Wikimedia, applying sign language. So this is America's Sign Language Wikipedia, and all this software and all these cases inspired us in applying sign writing in order to provide deaf accessibility on a journal system. So next slide, please. And so then after having finished my PhD, I started working here in Brasília at the Instituto Brasileiro de Informação em Ciência e Tecnologia. It is like the Brazilian Institute for Information on Science and Technology. And here at the BICT, specifically, we work at the coordenação de articulação, geração e aplicação de tecnologia. Our mission is to research, look for systems that support scientific communication. These systems include institutional repositories, library and monograph systems, also systems that allow management of terminologies, identifiers like DOI or KID, that are prominent technologies used in the scientific communication. Also, specifically, we deal with journal and conference systems. These journal and conference systems are part of PKP, Public Knowledge Project. It is a project developed at University of Vancouver in Canada, and they developed this system, the Open Journal Systems. That is a system that allows the publication of online journals, online scientific journals, and not just the publication. Also, it allows author submissions and peer reviewing and all this process that supports that are related to scientific communication. Next slide, please. So this is the traditional interface of Open Journal Systems. It is written in English now in this case. So this software has internationalization resources. And these resources to provide internationalization are being applied on sign writing translation. Next slide, please. Open Journal Systems is widely used. Worldwide, we do have 7,000 journals using this system. Just in Brazil, we have more than 1,000 journals, and it has a great potential, and it has a great audience, and we think that applying sign writing on this software is a great showcase that can, how I will say, can show the potential of sign writing. So next slide. So the idea is to apply sign writing on the interface of Open Journal System. This is an example, a proof of concept that these signs are not real signs. I just searched them on SignPuddle and inserted the codes here on the interface in order to test if it's feasible. So we discovered it's feasible, and we need to started working on how to translate. How could we manage to translate from Portuguese or from English into Libras. And in this process, we intend to register the signs in SignWriting and apply them on the interface. We could be using kinds of videolets, but they are not very easy to produce. I think if we do apply SignWriting, it's more how could I say? It's more easy to write down the signs instead of recording them in video and introducing Flash or online video streaming or GIFs or so on. There are many sites that do these things. It can be more accessible because not everybody knows SignWriting, but the idea is to apply SignWriting just to give the opportunity to people to know it. So it exists and they will look forward to learn it. So next slide, please. So we see as advantages of SignWriting in this scenario. It's easy of the edition. We can easily change the translated strings. We do have maybe the ability to online edit the contents of the translated strings. SignWriting is also scalable. We can have many strings translated. If in the case we would be using video, we would need to have many gigabytes of space or hard drives and many internet resources to transfer the video from the server to the clients. So here we're using SignWriting. We just have characters, strings that are very much more small than the video streaming. And also SignWriting has many emerging technologies. As I can see, it's being incorporated into UTF, and this is a great step in order to standardize it, and it can be widely applied on the internet, on the web environment. But as drawbacks, we can notice that SignWriting is still not widely adopted. We have a lack of fluent writers and readers. So here in Brazil, we are proposing, this is a proposal to translate the software. It's not done yet. So we will have to look forward for people who are fluent writers and also fluent readers of SignWriting in order to translate the interface. Also another problem, not really a drawback, but it's a problem to be faced and overcome, is the terminology related to scientific literature or scientific communication. So we do have to work with Libras specialists who will define or build this terminology and also not define the terminology itself, the signs, but a way to write down the signs. And this is the main challenge in this project, I believe. So next slide. As methods for the project, we will use the internationalization resources from OJS, from the Open Journal Systems. So as we translate from English to Portuguese, we will use the same resources to translate from Portuguese to Libras. And these translations to Libras will be done by Libras specialists. They will define a lexus or a corpus related to scientific communication. This corpus will be signed and transcribed to SignWriting. This transcription will be registered in SignPuddle or SignBank. So each term translated from the interface will be registered in SignPuddle, and next it will be retrieved from SignPuddle in order to be incorporated in the translated strings from the software. The codification we are using in this proof of concept installation is the FSW formal SignWriting codification. It works the same way as Wikimedia works. So we do use the JavaScript plugin that transforms the SignWriting codes into images. These strings will be incorporated into, will be registered in XML files. So the ISO code from the XML files in the case of Libras will be as SGN-BR files. So they will be stored into these XML files, and a JavaScript plugin will transform the codes into images. I believe that as we migrate from this approach to UTF, it will be more convenient. We won't need the JavaScript code anymore. Is it right? I suppose so. Yes. After all, despite the technical challenges, we also have to deal with SignWriting layout, how we will dispose, how will be the signs shown in the interface. As we can see, SignWriting uses more space than written oral language, so we have to deal with these issues on the interface of the software. And after being translated, it will be need to test the translation with deaf users who know SignWriting, for example. And so these are the methods that are planned to be used on the translation of the software. So next slide, please. Our perspectives is to find, to search for funding to allow us to develop this project. So we need to pay the translators and the people who are going to transcribe the signs into SignWriting. But it is an applied study on SignWriting. We can have, after it's done, we probably will have some reports that will show the problems we faced and how we overcome these problems, how we solved them, and we think this approach can be applied in other systems. So any other system we can have this methodology applied. So if you want to translate another software, you can use the same approach on the translation process. And this approach is specifically related to support scientific publications in sign languages. We do have a Brazilian journal specialized in sign language that is hosted at the link presented in this slide. It is the Revista Brasileira de Vídeo Registro em Libras. This journal presents scientific articles presented in sign language, and our idea is to apply to complement the presented papers in video and also present them in sign language, if it's possible. I've been talking with Rodrigo Rosso, who is the editor of this journal, and we are thinking about doing this with this magazine, with this journal. So next slide, please. We are open for collaboration, so I believe I presented this is a proposal. The main idea is presented, but we still don't know if it is going to work and if it's really feasible. We hope it is. The main idea so it's to register signs in the sign puddle and retrieve the codes and insert them on the internationalization resources presented, offered by Open Journal Systems.
Excellent.
And I think this is the idea, Valerie and Adam, Steve, everybody. Thank you for your attention.
Of course.
And I'm open for suggestions and comments. Any questions?
Yes, is this the last slide before we go on and talk about it, Ronnie? Are there anything more you want to share? Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, everybody, I want to apologize that my picture is not here. And now I'm getting a feedback on my sound. I think I need to restart my computer, but it's kind of strange. I don't understand completely what happened because we were doing so well broadcasting earlier. But you can hear me, can you, honey?
Yes, I can.
Okay, excellent. So we can still have a conversation. Well, first of all, when it comes to SignPuddle, it's excellent that you're using SignPuddle. And it sounds like you need to enter the signs in SignPuddle to then use for your project. Isn't that correct?
Yes, it is. This is the approach.
All right. And so there are already a lot of signs in the current Brazilian Sign Language SignPuddle. However, there may be different groups of people, you know, different projects that have needs. And if you need to have a private SignPuddle that would be just for the signs that you need for your project, just tell us. And we can create a file that is separate, although it's nice to be with the general public too, you know, so we could... Go ahead.
I believe that being on the general public is better than a particular one.
Okay, very good. And the only reason I mention this is that in every language, all the sign languages of the world, there are different ways to write signs. In other words, you use our system, but even so, if you go into the other SignPuddles, you'll see that they might have a different way to spell a sign.
Yes.
And so you may find a double spelling, for example, like one sign for, let's say we'll take the sign for Brazil. Now, I may have written it one way, and maybe two other people wrote it slightly differently, with a slightly different arrow strength or whatever. Would that be a problem for your project?
I don't know. I think not. If there is already a sign defined for example, for peer reviewing, we can reuse this sign, and I suppose it's better to keep open for discussion than hiding the sign and keep it isolated from the other world.
I agree with that. And then you could actually maybe label each one of the signs you're entering for your particular work that it's your project. So then if people wanted to search within the public SignPuddle just for the signs that were entered specifically for a particular document that you're doing, you could always find it that way through labeling, you know, that will work, I think.
Yes. As we get funding and we can hire, get people to work, and we can set up this how we can work with SignPuddle, and we arrange this more specifically, more refined setup. And,
yeah. And you have several co-workers. There's I may not pronounce the names properly. There's Messias, Ramos, Costa. Is that right?
Yes.
And
Messias. And the presentation page is the guy who does the signs. He's the signer who is presenting the sign language version of the paper.
Yes. Now, is it possible, Steve, for you to show that video? It's on Ronnie's presentation 48 page, and there's a video there. I guess Steve is showing his screen. So that's good. So go to SignWriting Symposium. And you go to the next one, right? And you scroll down to the video. There. If you click on that, it goes to YouTube, I believe. Can you make it full screen? There we go. We're going to watch it now.
So this is just a sketch of the final results, no?
Oh, I'd love to see that more. Yeah, I like the sketch of the final results. I wish I could see that. So yeah, I like that screen. Is that the way it's going to look when the actual product is ready to go?
Yeah, well, I hope it will be some sort of this thing. There are still untranslated strings, and we have to deal with the size of the signs and how will be they will be lined up in the screens. The traditional approach is the vertical columns, no, and I don't know how this will affect the software. Adam's blog uses an horizontal lining of the signs, no, Adam?
I used a little bit of both, some horizontal and some vertical, but that page that you showed was because it automatically translated English text into English spelling, and that's why it was horizontal.
Yes, yes. But on the menus and the blue images, I can see some signs, and they are streamed horizontally. No, in this approach, I think it will be necessary to be applied on the translation of the software due to the space on the interface. I don't know. I still don't know what's the better approach to be applied. So I believe both can be used. No.
Yes. May I say something here? years ago, when I first began sign writing with our first team of deaf people called the Deaf Action Committee, I worked with deaf people starting in 1981. And at first we were writing from left to right only. And I had some wonderful native signing deaf ASL, and also, by the way, some from Denmark as well who were native to Danish Sign Language. And they started giving us feedback. And the feedback was that they didn't want to just write from left to right. They also wanted to write down in vertical columns. The reason that request came is that, as it turns out, when people are expressing themselves in sign language, you sort of feel like the body is vertical, right? We're touching our... I'm so sorry you can't see me, because I would love to show you some signs and things. But nonetheless, the signs are vertical as well. When we're writing just from left to right, we're still writing them in stacks, aren't we? We have some signs above the head, some symbols, I mean, and some symbols go below the head. And so it felt natural to write down in vertical columns. However, that does not mean that everybody does that. And even though the real kind of deaf-focused, culturally deaf documents feel better written down in vertical columns, there are also practical sides to life, because the spoken language world, most of our spoken languages in the Western world at least, are going from left to right horizontally. Also, obviously, Arabic goes from right to left, but it's also horizontal, notice. So there are very few other writing systems in the world that are going down. Of course, Chinese goes down, we all know that, and perhaps even some Korean, but we have found out that through computers and the Unicode, even people using Chinese and Korean and other spoken languages that normally go down actually had to adjust to some writing from left to right or right to left, because of the nature of computers. We're kind of forcing them into that kind of publication. Another reason to want to go from left to right or right to left is because teachers like Stefan Gorman, whom I believe just gave us another message, which is no surprise, he's very much in support of writing signs from left to right, because in his case he's teaching deaf children to speak or to read and write or to pronounce spoken languages, and he therefore wants to support those learning experiences with written signs, but he needs to put the signs near the words going from left to right. Otherwise he can't show students the correlation between the signs and the words. So in translation systems, going from left to right with sign writing at times is valuable, just as long as you also know that there is something inside the culture of sign languages that needs the vertical writing for true written sign languages of the deaf, or anybody who's native to sign language. Writing vertically feels best, but that is not necessarily the same as teaching a deaf child how to speak or to read and write a spoken language. So there are two different worlds, plus the problems of computers not being able to adjust to the vertical columns as much as going from left to right. So to answer, I hope I've helped. What I'm trying to tell you is something, that there's a program you've already heard about many times in this presentation about derived software from Germany, and they're taking the sign puddle signs and putting them from left to right. So you could take a look at what they've done and somehow apply that concept. If you could also provide a vertical column choice, that would be the best, to be able to go between the two, I think.
I understand it's a cultural issue, but the computational environment, we do have the software that is project designed to support horizontal menus, don't vertical menus. So in order to apply the vertical writing, we would need to change the software in a way that's more than just translating it. We would need to reorganize the interface.
Yeah. Well, no, honey, I think really to be truly beneficial to the world, it would be someday in the idealistic world, we would have both choices. I really do think that being able to place the signs from left to right, or possibly even from right to left when we're dealing with the Arabic spoken language. And also being able to place the signs down in vertical columns as we do for deaf culture. I think that all of those worlds need to be supported in general by the software community. I know that it's a terrible job for you, and you can only do so much. And we don't expect you to be creating miracles in 2 minutes. We know that it's going to take time. So you could take one step at a time and do whatever you feel you can do first and best and get something started. Even if it's from left to right, like Delegs, you could take a look at the software, because in the Delegs team, they're a developer team in Hamburg, Germany. It's a wonderful group of people. It wasn't just one person, it was many people working on the project. I believe they had funding from the European community at one point. You know, it's very impressive what they've done. And they have actually created an interface where somebody who knows Libras, Brazilian Sign Language, could click on that entry system, come into the Libras dictionary, and what are they doing? They're actually taking the signs already written in SignPuddle and simply placing them from left to right as you type in Portuguese. And if you have that entry in the dictionary already in SignPuddle, then it comes up. And if for some reason the entry isn't there, then you have an ability within that software to be able to change what you have to change to make it work. Now, your system is different and has a different purpose in a way, and so you just need to apply what they've done plus what Steve's done. Plus, as you know, right after this presentation, Steve is going to be presenting actually 2 new things that he wants to tell us about. And so those might be of use to you as well. I don't know. Because what you're doing is you're essentially taking all of the software that's already been done and sort of taking it from there and expanding it further. Isn't that right? Honey, can you hear me? I hope. Oh no. You can't hear me, everybody?
It's better now.
Oh, good. Boy, I'm having trouble. I'm going to tell you right. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, did you?
There is some noise, but it's okay, I know.
Oh my, I know that I need to restart my computer. I believe that's what happened in my case. Unfortunately, I didn't want to lose your presentation. I wanted to view it and talk with you. So I chose not to restart my computer while you were talking and really stay. I hope you can hear me. I'm so sorry about the video. That's a complete surprise.
No problem.
Okay.
It is great to meet you online, and
yeah.
Great pleasure. As I told you, you are my idols. I've always cited your publications on my works, and I just like to thank you for the opportunity to show this our proposal here on SignWriting Symposium.
Yes.
And thank you for the initiative, and it's very good to see that many people are working with SignWriting and applying it on different places in different situations. It's very, very good.
Oh, I'm so glad you. Well, thank you, by the way. I want you to know that I was so amazed at your work years ago with the captioning of video. And for some reason, I never quite got it to work on my video. And I want so much to work with you on that, too. Your work, actually, Ronnie, is very important. You have certainly opened my horizon to what could happen with SignWriting. And so I hope you will continue to do this work, because although it is true that SignPuddle and SignMaker and all of the work that Steve has done has created a foundation, and then Delegs and other software has taken it further. Like even, I don't know whether you've seen Jonathan Duncan's software called SignWriter Studio. It is also very excellent. But I have a feeling, I just feel this way, that you will probably take all of these developments and develop them further. I just have that suspicion, because you are very talented and we need your help. I was wondering, would you be willing to help me privately to learn how to put captions on my video? And maybe, do you think we could do it? Because did you get it to really work, or was it just in a development stage?
Yes, unfortunately, I could not give the project onwards. It stopped as I finished my PhD, and I could not implement it in a way that was public for other people. But
Oh,
the software is still there. I need to recover it and put it online. But I don't
okay.
know. It's from 2012, and 3 years, technology changed a lot, and maybe it won't be an easy job to be done.
No, I understand. In the software world, 3 years is like 3 decades, isn't it, for other
Yeah.
work? And Steve has been working like a house of fire, as we say in English. He's certainly been working fast, and also the Deleg software has come since, and so has SignWriter Studio. So all of these software programs we could review together in private, maybe on a Skype project together. I'd love to talk with you without any camera problems, darn it, and be able to talk about what we could do for the future with the concept not only of your new project, but also the placing captions on video in sign writing. I mean, that idea is really important, I think. I don't think anybody else has tried that before.
Yeah, I think sign writing has an artifact that enables deaf accessibility to audiovisual content has the advantage that it's very easy to be produced in front of if you compare it to a sign language interpret recorded on video. But we have also have a drawback because sign writing reading is not very common for the people, no, for the deaf.
Well, I think that's changing, actually. That's changing. And
Yeah.
Brazil is actually kind of amazing. As you know, it's required, sign writing is, for, I believe, teachers who are learning to teach Brazilian Sign Language. I believe that's the case. And when that has happened, all of a sudden we've noticed a big change in the amount of Brazilian people who know sign writing, who are interested. On Facebook, I've been astonished at the literally thousands of people who have contacted me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, if it's a matter that what starts first. So you have readers as if you have text. People need
Yes.
to get in touch with sign writing in order to be curious or to go after some way to learn it. So
That's right. Yes, and if you think about it from an historic point of view for 1 minute, we have the internet and we're used to things going quickly. But in previous generations, any other writing systems that are big time, like the Roman alphabet, the Latin alphabet, or the Arabic alphabet, those took centuries to develop and to be used. And the average everyday person who was just trying to live and survive in previous generations didn't have the time to learn to read and write. It was only a small percentage of people who were lucky enough to be able to do that. And then over time, schools spread the reading and writing of languages, and so everybody got an education. That's a new idea just in the past couple hundred years. And the fact that we're then expecting Libras, which is Brazilian Sign Language, or any sign language, to just be a known written form in a matter of seconds, that's just not going to happen. We know it's going to take generations. But with the internet and with the software that you and Steve and others are developing, there's a chance that it will spread faster. So let me ask, we have 15 more minutes, and I would like to ask, because I think it would help me to have you repeat, just in your own words, what are you expecting in this new project called the Sign Writing Interface for a Journal System? You're looking for funding, if I understood it correctly, and you are at the Instituto Brasileiro de Inform. Oh dear, I'm going to not pronounce it properly. What is the name of what is the name of your university? Tell me.
It's not a university, in fact. It's an institute. It's part of the Ministry of Science and Technology, and our institute is responsible. Its mission is to provide ways to access information on science and technology and also on innovation. And here at Actibict, we are setting this project. We already asked for some funding from the Fundação de Amparo à Pesquisa do Distrito Federal. That is a source of funding. We are still waiting for the results. And as a result from the project, we hope to have OJS interface translated in Brazilian Sign Language using SignWriting. Not all the software maybe, but great part of it. I think that parts of the software, like the help files and longer strings, longer texts, won't be able to be translated. They will still be presented in Portuguese. But interface elements and other parts of the software, we hope they will be translated and presented in sign language.
Yes, of course, this reminds me of the menus. Are you talking about how all the interface where people are using it, where they need to be able to click on this, and it says it to them in Brazilian Sign Language as well as in Brazilian spoken language, right? Isn't that what you're saying? That the interface itself would be written in several languages? Is that what you mean?
Yes, mainly in Brazilian Sign Language. But I think that the help files, every system has a help system, so that part won't be contemplated in this first stage of the project, because it's much more hard. It has much more work to be done. They are longer text, so to translate this longer text, we will need much more time.
Of course.
Initially translated the menus and
we're having trouble getting Ronnie now.
Labels would be easier.
Okay, I can hear you now. Can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
We had a little sound problem. I'm sorry, Ronnie. Okay, go ahead and say that again. So you're doing the user. You were talking about the user label. Is that what you said?
No, the fields labels from forms of the system. We can translate the fields and the fields labels, menus, and short strings.
Wow. Did you see the first presentation of this symposium by Yair Rand? It was a keyboard. It's called the SignWriting Keyboard in JavaScript. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw.
What did you think of that idea of typing?
Yes. The first part would be translate this system, and after we could turn the system compatible with SignWriting. That means that user would be allowed to input signed text, sign language text instead of oral language, so the whole system could run with sign language, not just the interface but also contents.
Yes, and, I didn't mean to bring up something new. You could actually, you're just going to be translating what's already needed, and that makes perfect sense. And you can't do everything. It's impossible. But this reminds me of the Wikipedia just a little bit. Have you seen the ASL Wikipedia? I think Steve is showing something right now. Isn't that right? I don't know whether you can see it or not. But there's a screen on right now, for me at least, that says the wikimedia.org. Do you see that? If you click
Mr. Rand's keyboard is online, available to testing.
Yeah.
I think it's not. It is online or just for the desktop computer?
No, it's on the web. It's actually designed in JavaScript for the web input. You can actually technically actually put a cursor in a text field even on Google, although it'd be rare that you do that, but nonetheless, you could actually search in Google using his keyboard on the web. Yes, it's a web thing. And the only reason I brought that up is that right now we're looking at Wikipedia for one moment. Can you see the screen that Steve has on the screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, and can you see how there are some menus up at the top? In other words, there are signs that are going down. There's some words are sort of on the side. And the only reason those words are there right now is Adam is still doing the translation into ASL for all of the menus. And when that is done, it will give us all of those menus. The whole interface for the Wikipedia will be in American Sign Language.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think the same approach can be used on OJS.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I also I want to put you in touch also with some programmers from Italy. Perhaps we haven't been talking about them in this symposium. We really should. They presented last year. There was a trio. There were two programmers. One is named Fabrizio Borgia from Italy, and he developed and has still developing a software program called Swift. It's SW and then IFT, and it stands for Sign Writing, and then the IFT stands for something like an interface that's easy. It's a really nice name. I'm so sorry, everybody. I can't remember the exact name, but it's Presentation 1 and Presentation, I believe, 4, and Presentation maybe 33. And so we have like different presentations from them. They were all, there's one of them. If you see Steve's screen, there's Presentation 1. Can you see the word Swift? And that is a part of a program called SWORD, S-W-O-R-D. If you go to Presentation 4, Steve, and there's Stefan, there's Adam, and then we go to this next one. I believe this is it. Yes. Now go down. That's the Swift project by Fabrizio Borgia, Claudia Bianchini, and Maria de Marsico, and they are from Italy and France. And I mentioned this because guess what? In I think Presentation 33, they are doing some amazing work trying to do character recognition. Can you imagine? They're actually scanning sign writing documents written by hand in Italy and bringing this recognition into a piece of software that would do character recognition for sign writing documents and give them printed sign writing from it. And
yeah.
I think that kind of work might be useful for you as well if you're doing translations. So I'll try to put you in touch with them as well, okay?
The Swift software. Yes,
and there's also something else that they're calling, I don't know, we'll have to look it up. It's presentation. Oh, is that 33? Oh, proposal for handwritten sign writing for the SWORD project. Can you scroll down, Steve, for 1 minute? Please, quickly. Yeah, there we go. What does he call this? Well, anyway, there it is, SW-OGR for character recognition. Okay, well...
A kind of OCR, OGR.
Yeah, exactly, and the G is for graphics. Yeah, it's like optical graphic recognition. Now, yeah, none of these really are related to your project. I realize that. But I think what you're doing is equally as important, and we want to follow your work. So I hope you'll keep in touch with us and tell us anything that you need. We'll do any kind of support we can to help.
Thank you, Valerie. I hope this project goes on and we can have the interface translated into sign language, and also propose a way for this to be done in other systems. And,
yes, I love that.
I want to get in contact with Adam to see how he is working in order to translate Wikimedia, and probably we use the same approach for translating OJS.
Very good. I think this is wonderful to work together with such an amazing team of people all over the world. Isn't it remarkable? Italy, Canada, Honduras, believe it or not. The SignWriter Studio originated in Honduras and also Canada, and Brazil, of course, and here in the USA. We're very lucky. Listen, I thank you so much for this presentation. My heart is breaking that I can't show up in this picture, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm going to introduce the next presentation, and I want to thank you so much for coming. And I'm glad to see your slides. I'm looking forward to reading them more. And we will definitely get your presentation documented with a transcript so that others can read it. Okay? And keep in touch now, okay? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. And